You are listening to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, episode number 141.
Welcome to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, where you will learn brand new and shockingly different tools to lose weight for the last time. And now, here's your host, certified life and weight loss coach, Laura Conley.
Hello, Yummy Mummies. What's going on? All right, babes, I got a great episode per the usual for you. This episode is some Yum Mum Alum just talking about their experience, talking about where they would be now if they hadn't done the Yummy Mummy experience, what their partners, what their husbands have to say about the Yummy Mummy experience, what they would tell somebody who is struggling right now. This is an excerpt coming from the Yummy Mummy open house party that I did last week. So part of the open house party was me talking to y'all, telling you what the Yummy Mummy experience is, what you get, how to sign up, all that good stuff. And part of that Yummy Mummy open house party was hearing from the Yum Mum Alum. And that part was just so juicy, so rich, so good. I was like hanging on their every word. So I was like, I have to bring this to the pod. The pod squad, as Glennon calls it. Do you guys listen to Glennon's podcast? It's so good. I just call her Glennon, apparently. I just call her by her first name. She has a good name to be somebody that just goes by a first name, right? Yeah, like I don't know any other Glennons. Do you guys know other Glennons? It's like such a rare name. I always find it to be so interesting when there's like siblings and one has a rare name and one has like a mainstream name, right? Her sister's name is Amanda. Glennon and Amanda? What? It's like, can we get them on theme here? My kids' names, I feel like, are totally like thematic. Luna and Phoenix. I mean, come on. People are like, do you like Harry Potter? We're like, no. Why? They're like, yeah, because there's like a Luna and a Phoenix in Harry Potter. We're like, oh my God. Now we're like nerds. Okay. So without further ado, I always say that, right? Without further ado. And then I talk to you guys for like 5 more minutes. So I want you to find a takeaway, find a way that you relate to these Yum Mums in yourself, because we're all more similar than I think we give ourselves credit for, especially when it comes to our struggle. So I think you're going to really love hearing from these other mamas, from these other Yum Mums. And I think it's going to feel like really disarming and refreshing to know like, oh, I'm not a special unicorn. Like, oh, these other people have this problem too. And they were able to solve it, which means you can solve it too. And that's why I'm kind of crazy about having the Yum Mum Alum share. I just want to say Yum Mum Alum. Okay, I totally have food in my teeth again. All right, well, can you edit that out, Cody? Cody's my podcast editor. If you guys need a good podcast editor, hit me up. I'll direct you to Cody. So listen in. And if you pick up what they're putting down, go sign up for the Yummy Mummy experience. All you have to do is go to lauraconley.com, click work with me. And if you're really curious about the first part of the open house, we're going to link it in the show notes. So you can totally go and watch the first part of the Yummy Mummy open house. And really, I'm just explaining what the Yummy Mummy experience is. 6 months, group coaching, coursework, private community that guarantees that you lose weight for the last time. And we do that through balancing your hunger hormones, rewiring your diet brain so that you have a yummy mummy mind, learning how to stop eating for emotional reasons, including boredom, including celebration, including stress, including all the feels. We have daily accountability, and we practice what I call fun love. So we actually enjoy the process and we learn to be our own besties. It's the best how to get you from point A to point B, from you struggling to you feeling like you and at home in your body, ready to rock that little romper. So just FYI, you are going to have to go sign up before end of day, July 31st, because we're starting on August 1st. So we are going to meet every single Tuesday for that private coaching call, which is just really special and really insightful. You get all the tools that you could ever possibly need through that coaching call, also through your weekly module that you'll get through your private portal. If you don't want to go into the portal, you can always use our private podcast that you'll get access to. It's really cool. We have a private, everything's private. It's very exclusive and private. You also get access to our private Slack workspace where you can get written coaching. So if you can't come to the Tuesday call, it's not a problem. You can watch it recording, or you can watch it as a recording. And so many of my mamas do that because our lives are just busy. If you need to come late to the call, you can leave early. And we have that private workspace to have an opportunity for you to get written coaching for whatever comes up throughout the week, which is awesome. There's also channels in that Slack workspace, celebrations, discussions, challenges, resources, recipes. We have myself in there, my assistant coach in there. We have a Yummy Mummy MD in there. We are checking on you on a daily basis because you are accountable on a daily basis. And that's one of the reasons why this program works so well. This, among so many other things, we send you a hard copy workbook and a hard copy journal to your house. You get a soft copy, of course, too. And this is just so that you have every single tool to lose weight for the last time and to make sure that it's permanent, sustainable, and it's like the last time, right? Okay, so for real, without further ado, go ahead and listen to these Yum Mum Alums. If you have any questions, just slide into my DMs, slide into my email. You can even book a call with me if you're on the fence. So happy listening. I hope you all have the absolute best week ever. And I will see you down the Yummy Mummy. I think I need a new word. Yummy Mummy path. Yummy Mummy. Yummy Mummy milestones. I don't know. But I will see you hopefully inside the Yummy Mummy experience. How about that? We'll go with that. I will see you on August 1st. Go. Take the leap. You got this. So we got some panelists. Hey, panelists, what's up? I'm going to ask you guys some questions, and then you guys can just kind of raise your hand if you want to talk and tell me what you think. Now, for the open house attendees, like not the non-Yum Mum alum peeps, open up the Q&A and pop any questions, like literally anything goes. I have a couple questions that I queued up for you guys. So I want to know for you, because I think a lot of the potential Yummy Mummies, the people that are on the fence, they're on the fence for a reason. There's a reason they're not doing it. So I'm curious from y'all, what were some of your biggest obstacles in signing up for the Yummy Mummy experience, and how did you get over that obstacle? How did you talk yourself through that?
I had no doubt that the program would work because my best friend is one of the panelists, Karen, and she had completed the program. And I knew she had the success, but the big thing for me was just the financial aspect. Like when she told me, I was like, holy shit. And I was like, nope, not going to do it. Like, no, can't do it. And I think I had about a month between like the next session starting, which was actually, I just had my 1 year anniversary this week from when I started last July. So it's
awesome.
Pretty exciting. But after I found out about it, the cost, I just kept watching your Instagram and listening to your podcast. And it was like, I just convinced myself more and more that I'm like, no, I need to do this and I'm going to figure it out. And I've spent so much money doing Beachbody programs, doing Weight Watchers programs, buying every single shake that I think is going to help me, whether it's Advocare or you name it, I've done it. And gym memberships and paying trainers monthly. And I'm like, I spend more than that in a year. And I said, that's it. It's stupid not to do it. And what's so interesting too is like, I think so many of us can relate to that. Like we've all done all the things and the things don't actually solve the problem. It's like, so what does that trajectory look like? Like if we keep spending, I used to have like memberships at like every studio in LA and then be buying the green juices and all the things, right? And I started doing the math, like say I did that for the next 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, like that's like tens of thousands of dollars, right? And we're still not solving the problem. So I'm so grateful that you brought that up because I don't think as women that we are conditioned or we're like quote unquote like culturally allowed to spend $5,000 on ourselves on coaching, right? We'll spend $5,000 on like our kids' camps or like the bathroom remodel, or times that by like
10. We're remodeling our bathroom right now. Oh my God, what is happening? So we're not conditioned, but what's so interesting is that the ROI is there. It's priceless. To be able to be done with this is totally priceless. Megan, she's got her hand up. Let's hear from Megan.
That was my initial hang up too. And the way I thought about it was like, what am I taking away from my kids and my family by spending this on me? Mm-hmm. That was like my first, like, I could be doing something for them. But I did. I mean, doing it for me was doing it for them ultimately, which it took me a little bit of time to see that. I mean, I still had guilt even into like the first couple of weeks of the program. Mm-hmm. And then when like my brain really started changing, my thoughts really started changing, it took a couple of weeks for me to realize like, oh, I did do this for them. It wasn't just for me, it was for all of us. And it's made me a better mom, a better wife, like better worker, like everything. And then my other hang up was like the group aspect. You know, I'm like a kind of a reserved person. And with new people, I'm always kind of like maybe a little more shy, I guess. Yeah. And I was nervous about that part. I was nervous about like, am I going to have to share like the number that I'm selling? I'm like, I stopped seeing it on the scale. I'm not telling my husband what that number is. Like, I am not telling these strangers that. And it is so disarming, like the minute you get in the group, like just how quickly all that melts away. And it's just not even a thing I thought about after like the second week. And I wasn't even able to make all the calls. And so the fact that I still felt that way, not seeing everybody every single time, you know, I still felt that connection, even when I missed a couple live calls, even when I watched them later.
I think that's such a great point that you make too about like the guilt. Like, if you're on the fence and you want to sign up for the Yummy Mommy experience, like, don't wait for the guilt to go away. Which sounds kind of crazy. Like, the guilt is probably going to be there, but it's just not a good reason to not solve this, because what'll happen is you'll lose weight for the last time and the guilt will dissipate, because most likely it was guilt that was put on you from our culture. And it comes from the belief system that we shouldn't spend money on ourselves, which is complete BS.
The guilt I was feeling when I would snap at my kids because I finished their fries. And then I was like, oh, I didn't want to finish their fries. And then I would get mad. And then they'd be like, Mom. And I'm like, you know, what about the guilt from that? Like, I don't really have that anymore because, you know, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I've changed.
Yeah, and I think that that's an example of like real guilt. That guilt was pointing you towards your value system. It was pointing towards what you wanted or didn't want, which is you didn't want to be eating when you weren't hungry, and then eating when you weren't hungry, and then snapping at your kids and taking it out on them. So right. I think that I just listened to a podcast on this from Glennon Doyle, and she talks about, actually she's borrowing a concept from Dr. Becky Kennedy, that woman who wrote the book Good Inside. And she's talking about these two types of guilt, like essentially true guilt. When you have true guilt and you're feeling guilt inside your body, it could be a signal that you're going against or you're behaving in a way that's against your values. And then there's this other thing that's not guilt that I'll call false guilt, that comes from us being conditioned and programmed by our culture, which is like, you shouldn't, and then we adopt that belief without questioning it. So I just want to like acknowledge you for having the wherewithal to question it and to take action anyway. So if you guys do sign up for the Yummy Mommy experience, there will be doubt and there'll probably be a little bit of guilt, and that's okay. We'll work through it. But that is where some of these unexpected benefits, I think, come in. Yeah, you're going to lose weight for the last time, but you're also going to banish some unnecessary guilt, or you're also going to become a better mom or worker, whatever Megan was saying. So I think that's really insightful. Thanks for sharing that.
I just always think that when Jill came to me and I knew one of the issues for her was like the financial piece, my husband literally will say it's the best money that we've ever spent on any program, anything. He thinks, I mean, he's so grateful that I am part of this group, that I did it in the first place. And so if you ever need to talk to a husband, if anyone out there wants to, I mean, I actually think, I mean, he was on the podcast. I mean, we're not people who put ourselves out there, but he was like, I just think this really changed your life. And like, even when Jill was doing it, I wanted her to do it so bad because I just knew it would. And somehow I do think that probably helps to know that if your husband is the person like saying no or putting guilt out there, I think most of us would agree that, I mean, a lot of my friends through the program have said the same thing, where their husbands are so grateful for the work that, you know, the wife or I have done. And it's not about them, but I know that is also a hang up.
Well, let me ask you this question. Why is he grateful?
It was actually funny. We were talking about this last night because we were at date night, and it was a week where we had a lot of extra things going on. And he's like, typically, if you had gone out for dinner the night before and I wanted to go out to dinner, like my husband wanted to go out to dinner last night, he's like, you would have been like, no, I can't. I already am so like bloated from last night. And, you know, it'd be like this thing where I'd be obsessed with the scale and I wouldn't know what to do. And it's like this weird anger I would get about it.
Yes.
And he's just like, you're just so like calm. So like last night I said, okay, we're going to my favorite place, which is Carmine's, and everyone in the group knows that. And I was like, but before I went, I knew that I was like, it only works if I decide I'm only drinking these 3 drinks and I'm not ordering my typical meal. And I just adjusted it a little bit. We had an amazing night, great connection. And then, you know, I wake up today and I'm just back on protocol and I feel so good. Like that's
freedom. That's like literally, that's freedom in your relationship, in your schedule, in your like enjoying restaurant life. It's totally. So just call Isaac. Just have your husband call Isaac if you have any husband objections. But I think it's so true. Like, you know, most of our husbands are our partners or our people in our life, relationships in our lives. Like, if they really love us, they just want us to be happy. And they're just so relieved. I know my husband, he came on the podcast like years ago now. And he's like, I'm just so happy that you're happy. And also, I love that we don't have to like count calories. Like, I love that you're not bringing me like all these boring conversations. I think that they're so happy for us because we're so free. But I also think they do benefit. Like, my husband's like, you're just nicer. Your husband's like, you're just calmer. They do benefit. Like, you know, if the moms are the kind of like the matriarch or the queen of the house, like it trickles down.
Well, and I think right now it's coming up a lot because everybody's vacationing, but I can really remember I took one big vacation right before the Yummy Mummy. And it was like everything that went wrong on the vacation came back to me and eating and how I felt about my body and not wanting to do certain things because I didn't want to put myself out there like in a swimsuit or with this other wife that I thought was thinner than I was and looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like every vacation I take now, the food's just not an issue.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Oh my God, you're welcome. Thank you. Tara, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to add real quick that my husband would 1,000% agree.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I had actually lost a lot of weight just listening to the podcast. And so he had seen that I had lost a bunch of weight. And so I was a little bit like, well, do I still need to spend the 5,000 because I'm on a good path? But I'm just so glad that I decided to do it because of all the other benefits and the community and just the extension. So wanted to add that.
Well, talk a little bit about some of the other benefits, and not to put you on the spot, but I did have that question for you guys anyways. Like, what were some of the unexpected benefits? You guys all lost weight, but like, what else did you get out of this?
Just like the crazy own best friend concept. You can say that all day long, but until you really go through your program and doing the work and doing the homework and really keeping it top of mind, if you just hear it, it doesn't sink in. It sounds a little woo. But now I can honestly say that that is a huge part of my personality and of me. Just so much self-love. It sounds so silly, but it's true. But I wouldn't have picked it up just from going through the motions of weight loss.
Yeah, totally. And it's like all those Instagram quotes or Instagram memes. Like they say something like similar to like love yourself or be patient with yourself. And it's like, but how? And it's like, well, the Yummy Mummy experience is how, and I can't even describe it on a like 60 or 90 minute Zoom call, right? It's like you really have to like go in for 6 months and almost trust the process. But that is the greatest gift, I think, and that I constantly hear from y'all because, you guys know, I'll have you guys on the podcast, or I'll ask for testimonials, or whatever. You guys will just give me testimonials, and you won't be talking about your weight loss. You'll be talking about the fact that you love yourself. So I just think that's really cool, because that is like, and I joke about this all the time, right? Like, I'm like, it's a trick. I want you to lose all the weight that you want to lose, but really what I want you to do is feel free and love yourself and like go be yourself in the world. Like, that's true freedom. It ends up being a byproduct. Okay, so let's see. What else did I want to ask you guys? Where do you guys think you would be if you hadn't done the Yummy Mummy experience? Where do you think you'd be right now? Addie or Adele?
My nickname's Addie.
I've known Addie for like, I don't even know, 15 years or something. But she goes by Adele because now she's like a real adult.
I actually have your name still stored in my phone as your maiden name. It's funny.
I love it.
That's a good question. Well, I wanted to start by saying it was so nice to hear you talk about the basics, because I mean, it always comes back to the basics. And Laura, she was always talking about it's the practice. And I first joined after I had my first baby. I think I was like 6 or 7 months postpartum. And since then I had another baby. So I'm on like I have a 9-month-old right now. So I'm on my second round of, weight loss, which is awesome. But I always am going back to the basics.
I think that's like an important point to make, because what it highlights is that you go through the Yummy Mummy experience, and then you have every single tool that you need to create, to continue to sustain, right? Or if you do get pregnant, to lose the weight again, right? Like, there's no more secrets out there. There's no magic pill. It's these tools. That's it. You get the tool belt, and then you go back into the tool belt and you pick which tool you need. If you get pregnant and you have the baby weight and you want to come off. So I love that you brought that up, because it's 6 months, you get every tool, and then bada bing, bada boom, you're done. You don't need another supplement. You don't need a fucking green juice cleanse. You don't need 2-a-days, like whatever. So keep talking.
Yeah. So I think I would have been, weight wise, I probably would have been like maybe in the 200s, maybe. When I first joined, I think I was like 170 something, and my child was however months old. And I really was in that mode of like, I am breastfeeding. I need to have these calories. I need to eat. I was like eating all the cookies, like the breastfeeding bars. I remember I like stained my nursing chair with like chocolate bits because I was like dropping them on my seat. And my husband was like, what is this chocolate bars you're eating? I'm like, they're breastfeeding bars. I forget what they're called, booby bars. And, I was kind of like leaning into that. And it's obviously it's not true. You don't really need to do all this stuff. And then my weight was going up and up and up and up. And my husband and I, we knew we wanted to have another baby. And if I hadn't done this program, I probably would have just been at that higher weight, whatever that was, and then gotten pregnant again and like been exponentially higher in my weight. And like, it would have been really hard on my body. I'm in my 40s. Like, going into a second pregnancy, I probably would have been really heavy. And then I would be like doubly heavy.
How do you think you would feel emotionally?
Probably how I was feeling, like pretty defeated, pretty like angry. I was kind of like anger eating, because, my husband is so sweet, and like, he also loves this program, but he'd say things to me like, and I love him, and don't get the wrong idea about him. He'd be like, oh, like, you're eating that, like, kind of like those kind of comments, like, because I would talk about how I wanted to lose weight. I'm like, oh, I want to lose weight. I don't like how I am. I'm very unhappy in my body. I'm so uncomfortable. Like, everybody knows that feeling when you're heavier. And then he'd kind of comment like, oh, well, so you're choosing to eat that then? And I'm like, oh, and I would get super mad. And then I would like, how
dare you?
Yeah, how dare you? And then I would like angry. It was so weird. And I saw myself doing it. I was just like, oh, well, I'll show him. Like, let me just eat more food, or just Anyway, so I would have been feeling pretty just like probably out of control, probably throwing in the towel about it, and probably lost. Like, I was drowning in the weight, like drowning in that state of being where I would just be kind of like maybe even resigned to being at that weight. Like, oh, okay, this is just me now, which is hard. I mean, I see a lot of women in my family resigned to that after having children, or after having like just, I don't know what their thoughts are, but
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's such a good point. It kind of ties into what I was saying right at the beginning around, I had like accepted defeat at one point. I had resigned. And it's one thing if you want to accept and love your body at where it's at, but it's another thing if you're doing it from a place of disempowerment, right? From a place of like giving up, from a place of throwing in the towel, like that's so defeating, and it just rails on your confidence, like as a human. I think that's so insightful. Okay, who else wants to speak to where do you think you'd be if you hadn't done the Yummy Mummy experience? Like, where do you think we'd be right now? July 2023. How do you think you'd be feeling? What do you think you'd be doing? Jill?
I would be in the exact same rut that I was in last year at this time. I mean, honestly, I had given up and I was starting to accept myself at this weight. You know, I'm counting macros, I'm counting my calories, and I'm doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing, and it wasn't working. And I've always been a person who's cared about their self-image and how they're feeling. And so I wouldn't have given up, but I would just be doing the same thing and it not working. So the opportunity was so amazing. And you had just mentioned a little while ago, and people are like, oh, the self-love. But I think that's also what I wouldn't have is I didn't have the self-love that I have now. And when I see the scale go up 3 pounds after a vacation, instead of freaking out about it, like I know that I can get back and get those 3 pounds off or 5 pounds or whatever it is. But that has to come from loving yourself enough to not dreading it and hating it and making that number define you.
Yeah.
I would be stuck in the trap of 2 days at the gym, yet another gym challenge, you know, like sign up for this nutrition program, buy all these supplements, and it not working because I don't have the education of what actually works. So just spending more money and feeling like I was accomplishing something by just being at the gym and away from my family. And like I used to put myself first in that way, which just wasn't super healthy. And I'd also be stuck in the trap of thoughts, like at the pool, thinking I don't fit in or I'm not good enough or whatever. And the thought work has just been so, so helpful. And again, it's something that you can hear about all day long, but until you actually get into the practice of it, you really don't understand how much that improves your life by choosing your thoughts. And also just realizing that I'm no different from other people has been such a weight that's been lifted from my shoulders. So it's kind of scary to think about what I would be like today versus because I know what's on the other side.
Yeah.
So grateful.
That's huge. That's so good. Karen.
I love how I work out now. I work out because I want to work out and I enjoy it. I'm building muscle or doing Pilates, like stretching. But I used to just like torture myself, either running or doing HIIT classes. And it was like this calories in, calories out mentality that is just gone. And oh my gosh, it literally kind of makes me want to cry because that was so hard. And it was this like, it was done from a place of like self-loathing where I would like force myself to do it. And the realization, losing the weight, which I'm over 20 pounds down. And that was the other thing. Sorry, this is like a tangent. But when I went into this, I was like, oh, if I could get down 10 pounds, that would be a dream. Like, that's all I want is just 10 pounds.
Yeah. And
honestly, if all I had lost was 10 pounds, I probably still would be so thrilled. But the fact that it's 20 pounds and I'm in a fluctuation point where I'll go down like 5 more here or there. But I mean, that's the best part.
Similar to what everybody's saying, I think I would just be like, what's the phrase, like kicking the can down the road, where you just like, you just keep putting it off and like trying something. I would not be in this little sleeveless dress. I would not be in that at all. Always with sleeves before. Just the other day, I bought a bunch of clothes online. I did not enjoy shopping for clothes before. Like, it was not a fun, and I would definitely not do it online because I have to see exactly how every little thing would fit. And it's a whole different experience, and it's just so much more fun.
I love that. I love that you get to have fun, like shopping and getting dressed, because we get dressed every day, like multiple times a day. So people will be like, oh, it's so shallow to like want to go shopping in your closet, or it's so vain. And I'm like, okay, First of all, that's not a problem. Second of all, no, it's not, because it sets the tone for the whole day. Like, there are those, and some of those thoughts feel like whispers, or they feel really subtle because we just hear them all the time because we're getting dressed all the time. I think that that's a really big deal, and something that's important to highlight is you are setting the tone for the rest of your day every day when you get dressed. Can that be a positive experience? Because that ends up being your whole life. Like, your mornings turn into your day and your days turn into your life. And so how can we make the getting dressed experience one that like lights you up instead of shuts you down? So I'm so glad you brought that up. People want to know how much weight you guys lost. Will you guys tell us?
Yeah. I'll go first because I think I'm going to have to jump off after this.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I know we've gone a little bit over.
So I'm just short of 5'7", and I was battling between 167 and 170 at the time when I first found Laura. I'm now at 144, I think, today. I do weigh myself every day just to see how food reacts to my body. However, I did get down to like 139 at one point, and that kind of felt a little too diet brainy. And so I'm feeling pretty comfortable in the low 140s. So I guess that makes it 20 to 25, depending on where I'm at.
Yeah. That's so badass. And you've been there for like, I don't know.
So I'm celebrating my 2-year anniversary this week because I did my first one in 2 years. And I mean, I was down to the 139 point that I hit was actually like a year and a half ago. And so I feel like I could get there. I just am making a choice that I want to lift weights, and I feel really comfortable with it, and I feel great.
That gives me the chills, because to have choice and power over what you weigh is, oh my God, it's just queen energy. That is so badass. I love that you shared that. Okay, let's just snake around. Tara, and I think that does happen to a lot of the Yummy Mummies, is that we'll lose weight and then sometimes we'll come back up like a couple pounds because we're just sort of trying to figure out what our sweet spot is or where our range. And a lot of people actually lose way more than they ever thought was possible, which I'm sure some of you guys will talk about. But yeah.
I got down about 29 total, and I have popped back up a little bit, which is okay. Just like Karen, figuring it out, starting to exercise again. But I'm so happy, and I'm really content with where I am. So
yeah, it's kind of like to your guys' point before. It's like it doesn't define you. If you do go on vacation and you choose to, like I was in Italy and I chose to have like a Yummy Mummy Munchie or Joy Eat every day, like I knew the scale was going to pop up. But when I got home, it was like I actively chose this, and it's not a problem because I'm just going to honor my protocol, and that's just going to go back down. It's just like the lack of drama, that emotional weight, that mental weight being gone is, oh my God, it's tons of weight, literally. People come into the program wanting to lose anywhere from 3 pounds to like 200 pounds, and it doesn't matter because it works for everybody, and everyone's struggles are the same because it's not necessarily about the weight. It's about, again, the emotional baggage and the mental baggage that we're carrying around, and we all are very, very similar in that way. It doesn't necessarily matter how it manifests on our body physically. We can all relate to one another. And again, that's why I think that the group is so special. You just don't feel alone. You don't feel like a unicorn. You can believe, oh, she did it, I can do it too.
All right. So I started at 162, and, my goal was to lose 10 pounds, and I ended up losing 27 total, which is freaking amazing. And I'm up a few pounds, but again, kind of like Karen, like I'm finding that sweet spot where do I want to go back down to what my lowest weight was, or am I comfortable with where I am? But if I'm up a few pounds, it's not a big deal because everything that you taught us, I just apply it every day. So.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, a lot of us will like go back to weight training, and what you guys are bringing up is this idea around choice. We're the ones that get to decide, and there's no right or wrong. So I think that's just totally empowering.
I lost 60 pounds. My initial goal was 35, and then I pushed it to 45, and then I pushed it to 50, and then I pushed it to 60. I think I maybe have like 5 or 10 more that I'd like to lose, but I have started strength training. And so, as I build muscle, I don't know what that's going to do. So I'm just looking for those moments when I feel like, okay, maybe I ate that more out of emotion, and I'm focusing on that, and then just being healthy.
That's so awesome. That's so cool. And that's really what I want to offer to everybody is like, this is personal. Like, you get to decide what's right for you. You get to decide what's at home for your body. You get to decide what your natural weight is. And I'm going to help you get there. Like, over my dead body, like I said at the beginning, like, we're doing it. Addie, you were like me, because you like lost weight for the last time with your first baby, and now you're just like losing the second baby weight.
Yeah, it's like nothing.
I
love what you're all talking about, it being a decision, because to me that's so huge. In the past, before doing this program, like trying to lose weight or trying to get to a certain number was like just something that was so far off, and so like it felt so hard and awful. Like when I talked about trying to lose weight for my wedding, I was so miserable, like so miserable. If I could go back and enjoy that, like now I would totally enjoy that. It'd be fun. Like, but now I actually truly can say I can decide what I want to weigh and just do it. Like it's a decision that I can hold on to and like take with me through a whole year. You know, like losing baby weight takes a long time, right? So, or any weight really. So I can just take that decision and move with me, instead of it being this thing that I'm always like grabbing for and falling back from. And you like my visual stuff.
Yeah.
But to answer the question, I lost 45 pounds the first time. And then I got pregnant right away. From that bottom number, I got pregnant. And so I think now, I think I've lost around 40 pounds the second time.
So awesome. So badass. Okay, you guys, let's end with this question. What would you tell somebody who is trying to decide, who is like on the fence? But I do want to know, like, what would you tell someone who is trying to decide? Like, what would your advice or encouragement be?
There's no way you could regret it at all. I don't know. I feel like we can all say like, just do it. But like you have nothing to lose.
Yeah. Except the weight.
I felt that, I was scared. I knew Karen had been so successful and she had continued, to keep the weight off, but who knew if that was going to work for me? You've always said, like, I wasn't perfect in this program. I mean, I did B- work. I didn't journal every day. I mean, I was stuck to my macros as, as consistently as I can, but you don't have to be perfect at this. You just have to want it, and you got to want it bad enough. And, when I started, I was like, I just had that desire. So don't worry about if you're not perfect in this, but if you have enough love and desire, you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, I think that's what we're dismantling a little bit, is this idea that if you're going to lose weight, you have to do ABC program perfectly. Right. And that's what I really am trying to help people understand, is that B- work gets you A+ results. Like, if you just keep showing up, even if it's B- work, you're going to get there. The problem is we all think that we need to give A+ work, and then when we do B- work, we throw in the towel, and that gives us F level results. Like, it's just so backwards. I love that you brought that up.
I was just going to say, don't wait for the nerves to go away. I mean, like, I love my husband dearly. I had nerves on our wedding day. There's always like little butterflies and a little nervousness anytime you take on something like big, and there's always like that fear.
That's such a good analogy about the wedding.
If you're waiting for that moment to go away, you're never going to do it. And then you're never going to have like all the rewards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's such good advice. Addie?
I would also say that you won't regret it. There's like, that's it, really. There's not, you won't look back and say, oh, I wish I didn't do that. I love my gray hair. Sorry, my gray hair looks really cool right now. Like, grow out. But you're not going to look back and the only thing I would say is that you'll look back and just say, well, I wish I had done this earlier or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, I feel like that brings us to completion. Is there anything else you guys feel like you want to say that's like on the tip of your tongue, or you would offer to like your past self, or just any kind of final thoughts in general? And the only other thing I would say is, like, I know you all loved the community, but I do think that is a hurdle that some people have at the beginning is they're like, oh God, a community. So if you have any in general, like last thoughts or anything on the community, I'd love to hear.
I'll go. I mean, I love the community aspect. I mean, I was a little nervous at first and it was weird sharing, my personal feelings and weight with other people. But, once you get into the second, third, fourth week, these ladies just become, your best friend. They become your confidants. We're all going through the same thing. Mm-hmm. But now that I've finished and I'm in masters, like I get excited for our Wednesday calls. I'm like, oh, I get to see people and I may not need coaching, but I always get something from somebody else. And I love our little, it's not a little community anymore. It's a huge community. So it's amazing.
Yeah. It's so awesome. Thanks so much, Jill. Anybody else?
I was just going to say, so me and two friends have gone through this program and all of us have just been like, it's life-changing, like totally life-changing. And I mean, unbelievable. Like the community aspect, all of it, everything you do, it's like just amazing. Like no words.
I love that. That's so awesome. I feel like this is really complete. Okay, you guys, so make sure if you want to sign up, go to lauraconley.com and click work with me and get your booty in there. Doors will be open until July 31st and we're going to start on August 1st. So thanks again for the Yum Mums being here and for everyone else that was here. I really, really appreciate it. That is our open house. So thanks again, you guys, and I will see you down the Yummy Mummy path. Bye. Hey, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, I would love it if you leave a rate, review, and a subscribe on whatever you're listening to this podcast in. Pretty pleased with a cherry on top. It would help me so much, and it would help all the other mamas out there hear this message. Thank you in advance. I really appreciate it. And you have to come check out the Yummy Mummy experience. It's my proven lose weight for the last time group coaching and course. Head to lauraconley.com and just click work with me. Other than that, you guys, I would love to give you a free gift. If you want your free listener only gift, go to lauraconley.com/gift. And from there, you will get your free best ever weight loss hack. So cool. The last thing I want to tell you, you guys, is I do have a free Facebook group. It's called, you guessed it, the Yummy Mummy. Lose weight for the last time, end body drama, and get food freedom. You can just search that on Facebook, or again, you can head to the show notes and you'll find the link there. All right, you guys, have the best day ever.